What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Put 'em on a Poster podcast. If you're new to the channel, my name's Chandler, and let's get directly into the video today, man. So I got one question about this video. Is scoring overrated in today's league? Now, I want you to sit down. I want you to really think about that question. Is scoring today overrated? Because you look back in the days, you used to have games of 92 to 88 or 106 to 100. Nowadays, you're getting games like this Clippers game a couple days ago where it's a 176 or 175. And that's the real question. Is scoring overrated in today's NBA? You look around all time, there's been 8 players that have scored 70 or more points. 2 of them have happened this season with Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard from a couple nights ago, both scoring 71 respectively. Yes, obviously that's very impressive, but you look around, is it really as impressive as what it would be back in the days? And so looking further into the league, right now this season, offensive rating is the highest it's ever been in the NBA. It's by a margin too. It's by a couple points, which offensive rating is a very important statistic to show how good and how fluid offenses are running. And the pace of play has been about the same for the last 5 to 6 seasons. However, offensive rating is skyrocketed, which is a sign that defense really isn't getting played as much. Points per game at the highest it's ever been at 114.3. Last season it was at 110.6, so that's jumped up a ton. Field goal percentage is at 47%, which is amazing. Last season, field goal percentage was at 46.1. This season is at 47.4. So that's a big time step in terms of people are hitting a lot more shots nowadays, and that's making you wonder, is the defense being played affecting that? Or what in reality is causing this? And in terms of other stats, points per game is at the highest it's been. It's 4 points higher, as I mentioned previously. 3-pointers made per game has been staying around the same, but free throws, on the other hand, has gone up. 2 free throws a game this season. The percentage of free throws per a field goal attempt are going up. So just looking around the league or looking at the stats, there's more shots that are getting up, but the defense is kind of going less and less per season. And you can ultimately tell that the defense this season, or like basketball this season, is just completely different because players are just have become so talented at what they do. Obviously these players are superstars. They're some of the best players in the world, if not the best players in the world. And you're looking at these guys, and these guys are just incredible. They're at the best of what they do. They can take advantage of it. And you look back at this Kings and Clippers game from a couple nights ago. This game was 176-175. It did go to double overtime. Regardless, that is still insane. That is, I believe, you get the first or the second highest scoring NBA game of all time. That's ridiculous. That right there alone is just insane. This game was at like 150 to 149 or 150 to 150 going into overtime. They were lighting it up in terms of actual scoring. The Clippers had 2 40-point quarters. The Kings had 2 40-point quarters. Kings had 36 in the second, 34 in the third. Clippers had 37 in the third, 36 in the fourth. And then they both had 11 in the first overtime. Kings ended up with 12. Clippers ended up with 11 in the second overtime. And there was a lot of big-time performances in this game. Looking at the Kings side of things, you had De'Aaron Fox with a 42-point game. Malik Monk stepped up big time, had a 45-point game. Domantas Sabonis had himself a 20-point, 10-rebound, 4-assist game, obviously doing what Domantas Sabonis does best. He's a really talented player. I'm glad he made the All-Star game this season. He well deserved it. Kawhi Leonard had himself a 44-point game. Paul George, 34 points. Russell Westbrook made his LA debut in this game, had 17 and 14. Yes, he did foul out in overtime, which kind of sucks because obviously, you want Russell Westbrook in the game at that point. But, he's playing good so far for the Clippers, so I'm hoping he keeps it up. Norman Powell had a 24-point game. Nicholas Batum had a 19-point game. Terrence Mann had 10. There was just production all around, and this game was back and forth. These offenses, they were not missing shots. They were going crazy this whole entire time. They're looking at the percentages. The Clippers shot 60% from the field and lost. That is absurd. The Kings shot 58% from the field and won, but they won the rebounding battle. The Kings had 43, the Clippers had 42, so they won the rebounding battle in the long run, but looking at the team, it's very surprising. That scoring, going back to the main point of this video, scoring is just through the roof this season. Like, you have the most players averaging 30 plus points per game this season than ever in NBA history. I'm pretty sure there's 7 or 8 players averaging over 30 points per game this season, which is just nuts. Like, that should not be the case. And people are doing that. People are really, really doing that. It just put like players. Yes, they're the most talented, most athletic, most freakishly the best players in some of the history of basketball are doing what they do best. You got 6 players averaging over 30 points per game. You got Luka, Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Jason Tatum. And you got people that are close too. LeBron's averaging 29.5 a game. Donovan Mitchell's averaging 27. John Morant's averaging 27. Trae Young's averaging 27. Kyrie Irving's averaging 27. Like, I could go on and on about people that are even averaging over 25 plus points per game. There's 17 people in the league right now that are averaging at least 25 points per game. 17 people are at least doing that. And that alone is absurd, because you look back in the past, you're not seeing people that do this. These are the best of the best players back in the past are putting up these amount of points per game. Like, this stuff is not happening. Points per game, I mean, you can go back and you could look back way in the past and you can see, like, for example, go back to Michael Jordan's era in 1995 when the Bulls got one of their titles. The scoring was at 99.5 per game. I mean, let's go 97, 98, 95.6 points per game. 98, 99, 91 points per game. So the scoring has increased by over 20 or damn near 20 plus points per game, which is just nuts. It's through the roof. And yes, obviously stats are a little bit inflated this season, but like what I said, is scoring as significant as what it was before? Like, is people saying, oh, I average 30 plus points per game. I average 25 plus points per game now. Is that really significant anymore? And like, a lot of people, like, I've heard people from like just watching on YouTube and whatnot, people will talk and they're like, the 20 points or the 30 points per, or this, like, now is like 15 to 20 points back in the day. I mean, if you like, the 30-point game back in the day is like a 40-point game now. That's what a lot of older players are saying, and that's just nuts to even think about. Has defense fallen apart that bad, or have players just become that much more talented? And I mean, you can make an argument for both sides. Obviously, defenses are a little bit more complex back then, now compared to back then. Back in Jordan's era, or things like that, you could not run a zone defense. Obviously, you don't see a lot of zone defenses being run really anyway. Most of the time, it's just put your best defender on the best player and go from there. But there is some zone defenses that are run. Like, obviously, the Raptors, back when they won the finals, they were in their 1-3-1 zone. You know, obviously, sometimes you get your 2-3 zones for certain teams. The Lakers have been known to run some zones on the season. Same with the Thunder. So, obviously, you know, that's something that is different. These defenses are a little bit more complicated. However, back in the 90s, you could hand check people, which, in case you don't know what hand checking is, pretty much you stick their hands into their sides and you keep them from going around you. You can't do that nowadays, and obviously that's a little bit different. But offenses nowadays as well, they're like way more complicated than they were back in the 90s. Like, the offenses back in the 90s, or the Bulls ran a triangle offense, which is based on passing the ball, moving around, whatever, yada, yada, yada. The offenses are so much more complicated nowadays. Now you're getting a lot more off the ball stuff. Like, you look at the Warriors, you're getting Steph Curry running off of off ball screens. You're getting Draymond Green passing around, looking around, running or dribble handoff. You're seeing a lot of these offenses kind of lean more towards that handoff. And another reason for the offensive explosion as well is just the 3-point shot in general. I mean, a lot of teams weren't attempting threes back in the day. Now you're seeing people like Steph Curry attempt like 6, 7, 8 3-pointers a game. And most of the time, that's what people were making back in the day, or back in like the past times. That's the amount of shots that people were even attempting. Now you're seeing Steph Curry make that much in a game. You've seen Klay Thompson make he's had 2 games of 12 plus 3-pointers this season. You've had Damian Lillard just a couple nights ago had 13 3-pointers in that game. Donovan Mitchell's had a couple big time games this season, and one of those is obviously his 71-point game where he was lighting it up. So the main question of this video, as I get back to it, is offense really that significant anymore? Or is defense just falling off? Or is offense just taking it to a whole nother level? And are these people really, really giving their heart out on defense? I mean, because obviously you see there's some people that are around the league that do that. There's guys that are purposely locked in on defense. That's the only thing they do. Like Jose Alvarado, one of those guys. But what's going on with offense? Like, I don't know about y'all, but I missed the times where defense was just a big thing and people were locking up every day and not, or like actually giving it, like a caring to try to play defense. You don't really see that as much. And I mean, obviously, like even the All-Star game, for example, like the All-Star game was terrible this season. There was no defense played literally at all. So looking back on it, offense is incredible this season. It's special, but does it really matter? And so I'm gonna leave you on that. I just want to say thank you for watching. You know, if you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I just want to say thank you for watching again. It just means a ton to me. It means a lot to see the channel grow and the support that's coming from it. So thank you again, and I'll see y'all in the next one, man. Peace.